Hi everybody and welcome back to Kimbo's Comfort Kitchen, and as you may have noticed, I still don't have a haircut. But that's okay, I don't care. My wife says, really? You're going to go on the air like that? Yeah, I don't, it doesn't matter. So today we're doing yellow split pea soup, Danish variation of it. My mom used to make this. There's nothing better than coming home in the middle of the afternoon when Mom was in the middle of making this soup and you could smell it from a mile away. It's awesome. So the takeaway here is we're not going to use the bone. This is a bit of an accelerated version. I'm not dicing the ham. I tear it because it imbues the flavor from the ham, the smoked ham, into the broth much faster than if you use a knife and cut it into cubes. Celery root is another addition. I'm not putting in bacon because we have the ham. It's a pretty simple recipe. It takes almost an hour and a half to make, but it's well worth it. And the best part is make a lot, because whatever you have left over, it freezes well and actually tastes awesomely better than when it's fresh, like a lot of stews, which is essentially what it is. Also, I add potatoes to this. You don't have to add potatoes. I like it because it's a thickener and it makes it very hearty. If you prefer a thinner soup, just leave the potatoes out of the recipe and away you go, Bob's your uncle. Or maybe he's not. You'll never know. So let's get going. Okay, so let's take a look at our basic ingredients that we're going to use today for this awesome soup. We've got carrots, celery. A lot of this stuff has seen better days, but that's sort of the idea behind soup. You know, you get rid of stuff that you think is on the edge. I got some onions, I got celery root, we've got thyme from the garden I just clipped, garlic cloves, some bay leaves, and I'm throwing in some potatoes, simply because potatoes in a soup are great if you want to add some thickness to it. You'll see why afterwards. And of course, I've got 3 cups of split yellow peas. Now, if these were whole yellow peas, I would have to let them soak for a while, but because they're split, I'm only going to wash them and leave them in water for about 30 minutes and then start them in the broth. And I'm using chicken broth with no salt added. This is not an advertisement for Campbell's, but this is what I got, and it's good. For the price, it's good. As I said, potatoes, and I've got ham that's left over from our ham dinner at Easter. Salt and pepper, butter, avocado oil. You know that's my oil of choice because it's got a high smoke point. So I think I've covered off everything for now, and I'm going to prep all of this stuff. And, oh yeah, I know what I was going to say. These are approximate. What you're seeing right now is not the actual measurements of everything, because I'm going to put that out on my website at kimboscomfortkitchen.com. All right, so let's get going, and I'll come back when all the prep's done. So I've peeled the celery root. I just put, I took all the rough parts off and then used a potato peeler. If you're wondering about how to attack celery root, if you have never done that before. And there we go, now it's diced. I'm just going to put this aside and continue to do the regular chopping. Okay, so most of the prep's done. I haven't done the ham, but I got lots of time to do that later. I'm actually probably going to prep that a little bit differently than what a lot of people do, but I'll show you that. We've got the broth, we've got the potatoes in water so they don't discolor, celery root, carrots, celery itself, some old parsley, and I've got onions, which I'm going to saute briefly, and I've drained the beautiful split peas, and garlic and thyme and basil and bay leaves. So let's get this show on the road. And oh, by the way, it's really important when you're washing these to actually wash them, because you never know if you find a stone or a piece of something super hard in there. A lot of people have had to go to the dentist when they're dealing with split peas or a lot of dry goods like lentils and things like that. That's the reason you want to wash them through. Well, one of the reasons, but anyway, just a note. Okay. So there we go. I'm going to just add the onions, and I'm going to cook these off until they're just translucent before I put them into the soup. Okay, so I have just started warming up the stock, or the chicken stock, and I've added the split peas. I put the bay leaves in, is incredibly complicated. Drain the tomatoes or potatoes, and those are going in now. That's going to be basically a thickener because I like a really thick pea soup. And I'm taking 3 cloves of garlic, which I've broken but I haven't chopped up. That's going in because I'm going to pull those out eventually. And I put in a bouquet of thyme, fresh thyme, and celery, and the celery root, and the carrots. And you'll notice that I haven't added any salt, but I'm going to add a little bit right now. Not a lot, but just a little bit for some seasoning, because there's 0 salt in there right now. And then finally, I'm going to add in the sauteed onions, or the onions that I've just made translucent. That's it. And you know what? That's it for now. We'll come back in about, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes. Okay. We're 45 minutes in on a simmer, on a high simmer. And I've just tested the various particulates in the broth. And most of it is pretty good right now, but the celery root is still a little bit raw. So I'm going to wait another 15 minutes before I do anything. And we'll be back. Alright, so we're at a crucial moment here. It's been an hour, and I tested the veggies. I'm going to take out the bay leaves, and I'm going to take out the thyme. This is really vital, by the way, even though it's doesn't seem like a lot. Thyme is one of those ingredients that is sort of like a je ne sais quoi. You know, when you're tasting in the soup and you're going, wow, you know, there's something about it. Don't know quite what it is, but you got to be careful, because if you add too much thyme, then it sucks, because all you taste is the thyme. But like a lot of really good recipes, it's about balance. So I'm going to pull out here now a bunch of the split peas, and obviously some other residuals here, but I'm pulling that out because I am going to puree. There's a garlic. I'm going to leave that in, actually, but I'm going to puree most of this, but I'd like to have some texture left, because I'm going to add that back in. And after I pureed it, I'm also going to add in the carrots again, mostly for aesthetic reasons, because we like to see the carrots. And I've shredded the ham rather than cubed it, because when you shred a meat like pulled pork and all that kind of stuff, what happens is, as opposed to cutting into cubes, you get a lot more surface area, and this will be absorbed into the soup much faster, and it'll imbue much more of the flavor into the soup much more quickly than if you just cut it with a knife. And I like it because it's kind of hyggelig, okay, which is Danish. Go look it up for those that don't know it. It's very rustic as opposed to that. So let's do that. I'm going to get the hand blender out and puree this whole thing here, and turn it down just a little bit. I don't even have to move it off the stove. We'll be back when it's finished. Alright, so I've finished pureeing it. And I don't want it totally pureed, but it's, okay, this is pretty phenomenal. I'm going to put this back in because I want texture in the soup. And I'm going to put the ham in now. Shredded, of course. And I'm going to add some carrots. Again, the carrots are more just for aesthetics. It will change the flavor a bit, but not huge. And this, now that it's been pureed, you have to put it on low heat because you don't want to burn the bottom. But that smokiness from the ham is going to come out. And I'm going to check this in 30 minutes. Okay, so this has been another half hour afterwards, and let me tell you, this is beautiful. So it's thick. Now if you don't want it this thick, that's understandable, I get it. Simply don't put the potato in. But right now, the way this is set up, it's got some texture to it because of the fact that I added the carrots, and the ham hocks, or the ham itself has had a chance to infuse itself into the soup. And I'm going to add a little bit of parsley as a garnish. And being that we are Danish, I'm going to add some crispy onions. And there you go. There is a yellow split pea Danish Canadian soup. If you want to add some pepper to that afterwards, you can, obviously, and even a little bit of salt. But generally speaking, I think there's enough salt in there. So I hope you enjoy.